My boyfriend, William, was the scion of a powerful family, and I was just a gold digger with nothing but my looks. William detested women like me, yet he was the one who pursued me. Just when I thought I had found my prince, he cruelly shattered my dreams. He got his wish and reunited with the one who got away, and I also got a new boyfriend. But he regretted it, threw a black card my way, and I decisively went back with him. One day, he pointed at my new boyfriend, Julian, and gritted his teeth. Didn't you say you broke up with him? Why is he in your bed? I feigned innocence. I was just lying in the same bed with him. We didn't do anything. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments where you are listening from. William, as an outstanding graduate, took the stage to give a speech. Countless envious glances were cast our way. Luna certainly knows how to pick a boyfriend, rich, handsome, and brilliant. I puffed out my chest proudly, full of self-satisfaction. But then, after his thank you speech, William broke up with me in front of everyone. The entire campus turned to look at me, standing below the stage. Caught completely off guard, I froze, staring blankly at the radiant William on the podium. From across the crowd, our eyes met. The contempt and disgust in his gaze etched themselves clearly into my heart. Whispers erupted below the stage, and malicious speculation came crashing down on me. Weren't they always so close? Why did William suddenly break up with her? Right? I heard William himself pursued Luna. Why would he deliberately humiliate her in public like this? She must have done something scandalous. I always said she had sultry looks, not the type to settle down. Exactly. Luna is the campus's notorious gold digger. I was surprised when William pursued her. Now he must have seen her true colors. If you ask me, a girlfriend should be like Chloe, cultured and elegant. A gold digger like Luna probably said all her morals for money. She probably. Ha 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 ha. Ambiguous laughter reached my ears, and vile expressions met my eyes. I bit my lip, staring at William, hoping he would quickly say he was just joking with me. Even though the joke wasn't funny at all, I was willing to forgive him. But as he faced my tear-filled eyes, he stood high on the stage, watching with cold indifference. I was never one to passively accept injustice, so I pushed through the crowd and walked towards him. On the way, countless malicious hands brushed against me. Despite my efforts to protect myself, my clothes were inevitably disheveled by the time I reached him. Under the gaze of the entire campus, I trembled as I smoothed my clothes, utterly mortified. But, who had once showered me with care, acted as if he didn't see me, frowning and snapping. What are you doing up here? Get down. I fought back tears. Why are you breaking up with me? William sneered. You have the nerve to ask why? I haven't even asked you who that man is yet. As he spoke, he brought the microphone to his lips, and his words clearly reached everyone present. A stir went through the audience. Catching a fleeting smile in his eyes, I instantly understood he was doing this on purpose, deliberately humiliating me. I couldn't understand why he had suddenly changed so much, like a completely different person, when just the day before he had been willing to get on the floor begging like a puppy to get me to take my medicine. Thinking of the man he mentioned, I felt there must be some misunderstanding between us. I reached for his hand to explain, but he violently shook my hand away. Don't touch me. You're disgusting. My explanation caught in my throat. I stared at him fixedly. Say that again? I said, you're disgusting. He repeated it, without a moment's hesitation. Smack, I reached out and slapped him hard. Did I give you too much credit? The whispers below instantly ceased, leaving a stunned silence. Willia M. clutched his face, his complexion ashen. You dared to hit me? I laughed too, a laugh more terrible than a cry. You bet I did. As soon as I finished speaking, a slap suddenly landed on my face. Sharp fingernails grazed my skin, causing a stinging pain. Luna, you're going too far. You're the one who cheated. How can you have the audacity to hit William? Chloe, whom they always called refined and well-mannered, had picked up a microphone at some point, and her indignant words echoed through every corner of the campus. The audience snapped out of their shock and chimed in. Exactly. What right does an indecent woman like you have to hit anyone? Good job, Chloe. That's how a slut should be dealt with. Chloe smiled at me, her malicious intent almost palpable in her eyes. I immediately retaliated, but William grabbed my hand just before it could strike her. He squeezed my wrist tightly. You can hit me, and I won't hold it against you, given our past. But you can't hit her. She's not someone you can touch. My response was a crisp smack. I raised my other hand. As everyone knows, people have two hands. Chloe clutched her face, grabbing his shirt corner, her eyes brimming with tears. William, please break up with her immediately. She not only cheated but also has violent tendencies. Watching her theatrical act, I only regretted not having my nails done, or I would have scratched that face of hers to ribbons. William, ignoring everyone else, patted her hand with an expression of doting affection. We'll do what Chloe says. My gaze darted between the two of them. I had heard rumors about them more than once before, but I had never believed them. William's affection for me had been obvious to everyone. His eyes, when he looked at me, were full of adoration and love. I believed love couldn't be faked. But at this moment, I wasn't so sure. The way he looked at Chloe was eerily familiar. All the rumors I had once heard flooded my mind. I seemed to be grasping truth, so I snatched the microphone with a cold laugh. You keep claiming I cheated, but your evidence is nothing but your own words. As for you too, your ambiguous behavior is quite out of line, isn't it? So the refined and well-mannered person in the eyes of certain scumbags is actually just trash who seduces other people's boyfriends? Chloe's face changed, and she hastily pulled her hand out of William's. What nonsense are you spouting? We're just friends. Do you think everyone is as promiscuous as you are? Promiscuous? No one is as wild as Miss. Don't think I didn't see. Shut up. What other rumors are you trying to spread? Chloe cut me off frantically, lunging at me, ready to slap me. But this time I was prepared. With a swift movement, I grabbed her hand and twisted it hard. Her shriek of pain echoed through the air. I smirked, but before I could enjoy it for 2 seconds, a heavy slap landed on my face. William's furious roar erupted. Are you done making a scene? His strike was incredibly forceful. My ears rang. I looked up at him in disbelief, but he had already lowered his head to comfort a frightened Chloe. Don't be scared. I'm here. I'll make her apologize to you. I watched him gently comforting Chloe, but in my mind, flashes of how good he used to be to me appeared. Him, kneeling to wash my feet, him, patiently coaxing me to sleep, him, defiantly standing up for me. His eyes, when he looked at me then, were just as gentle. In a daze, I felt like I was in a dream, unable to distinguish reality from illusion. Could someone's love completely change overnight? Or was all of it fake from the start? Apologize to Chloe. William's commanding words shattered the dream. My stinging, throbbing face reminded me of the truth. That slap completely destroyed my feelings for him. I lifted my foot and brutally kicked him in his masculine dignity. Apologize? Over my dead body. William doubled over, like a shrimp whose vein had been removed. Speechless for a moment. Chloe frantically circled him. William, are you okay? Seeing was too much in pain to speak, I answered for him, I'm perfectly fine. Don't you worry your pretty little head. Chloe glared at me furiously. Do you know who you just kicked? You're finished. I feigned fear with a saccharine tone. Oh my, I'm so scared. William, please don't sue me. Pretty please. My voice was so sickening. I didn't know if they wanted to vomit, but I certainly did. William probably felt the same way I did. He squeezed a few words through gritted teeth. Not apologizing, are you? You'll regret this. He turned to Chloe. Chloe, how do you want her to apologize? Chloe glanced at me. She really scared me. Asking her to kneel and apologize wouldn't be too much, would it? William stroked her head and sighed. Ours just too kind. That's why people easily take advantage of her. Chloe snuggled into his arms, pouting. With here, no one would dare bully me. William chuckled softly. That's right, with me here, no one will ever bully Chloe. Their blatant intimacy made me sick. I picked up the microphone and announced to the audience below. I don't want this trash anymore. Whoever wants him can have him. William's face darkened. Seeing this, Chloe jumped forward. William, she's gone too far. She can bully me, but she can't bully you. Should I teach her a lesson? William was touched. Yes. Chloe glanced at me, then smiled sweetly at him, snatched the microphone, and addressed the crowd below. Whoever can make her kneel and apologize today, I'll give them 100,000. Never underestimate the depravity of human nature. Even without a motive, they'd join in to kick someone when they're down, let alone with such a huge temptation. A crowd of people scrambled onto the stage, eager to get the money, and the scene instantly dissolved into chaos. Only then did the school administrators, who had been feigning blindness, snap back to reality, repeatedly outing, no crowding. No crowding. I sensed something was wrong and tried to slip away in the commotion, but Chloe tripped me with her foot. A mob of people swarmed towards me like zombies. Just as I thought I'd be torn apart and was about to go all out, a voice suddenly rang out, "Stop." The voice was clear but laced with gasps, as if he had just finished an 800-meter run. Accompanied by the loud crash of a table breaking, the crowd collectively froze. A long trench coat covered me. I looked up, and a slender hand appeared before my eyes. This was the only person who had shown me kindness today. I tentatively placed my hand in his. His hands, though seemingly pale, were strong. With a slight pull, he lifted me to my feet. I looked at the owner of the hand, and a sickly, handsome man, Julian, with exquisitely defined features, came into view. His magnificent features, pale lips, and skin created an enthralling and unparalleled beauty. I was momentarily captivated, even wondering if he was some kind of mythical creature. The rise and fall of his chest was quite pronounced, and combined with his earlier gasping voice, I guessed he must have run here. A scene seemed to flash in my mind, him, running wildly towards me against the flow of the crowd. My heart suddenly quickened. All other images faded, leaving only him, vibrant and alive. Seen enough? What's so good about him? William's chilling voice rang in my ears, but I ignored him, my gaze fixed on Julian in front of me. This was 1,000 times better than William, that jerk. Julian looked a bit frail, he probably needed a lot of money to take care of his health. I couldn't help but sigh, if only I had money. Does it hurt? Julian lightly brushed my cheek. The concern in his eyes was like that of a divine healer. Instantly, I felt no pain. I gave a silly smile. No, it doesn't hurt. Just as I was secretly feeling happy, my arm was suddenly yanked hard. I winced and looked over, meeting William's murderous gaze. He's just a lowly illegitimate child. Is he worth a second glance from you? I rolled my eyes at him. My peripheral vision caught Julian's head dropping in shame, and I instantly exploded, glaring fiercely at William. Say one more word, and I'll tear your mouth apart. William stared at me in disbelief. You're scolding me for his sake? I ignored him and turned to comfort Julian. Don't bother with a pathetic man like that. He's got something wrong up here. I pointed to my head. Julian indeed laughed at my words, but his gaze swept over the marks on my face and became somber again. Would you mind if I carried you? Julian suddenly asked. I instinctively shook my head. A face of breathtaking beauty suddenly drew close, and I stared, mesmerized. Before I could even react, he swept me up into his arms. The fresh scent of grass mingled with the warmth of sunlight filled my lungs. I watched in a daze as he carried me through the crowd, leaving that dreadful place behind. My peripheral vision accidentally caught William's furious, predatory gaze, and I couldn't help but shake my head. So ugly. I quickly fixed my eyes on Julian to cleanse them. He didn't take me to the campus clinic but carried me straight to his car and drove to the hospital. While driving, he kept his right hand out of sight. I felt a bit strange but didn't want to ask too many questions, guessing he might be trying to look cool. It wasn't until I had gone into the hospital and had the wound on my face treated, and he pulled out his phone to pay, that I noticed his right hand was red and swollen, with splinters lodged in his knuckles. His hands, like works of art, were marred. I knew it was because of me. I bit my lip, feeling incredibly guilty. Without a word, I pulled him to register for another appointment. It's a minor injury, don't worry. Seeing my distress, he considerately comforted me. After his hand was treated, he took me to eat at a local diner. This diner was my favorite spot, but I hadn't been there in a long time. William used to disdain food trucks, claiming they weren't clean. He wouldn't eat there himself and forbade me from going, saying that as his girlfriend, eating such things in public would lower his standing. I liked him back then, and I was determined to make our relationship work. When he told me not to go, I obediently listened, afraid of embarrassing him. Sitting here again, savoring the flavorful noodles, I slurped them down with gusto, letting out a sigh of pure satisfaction. Meeting smiling eyes, I realized my eating habits might have been a bit unrefined. I lowered my head, my face burning. Watching eat is so appetizing. It's been a long time since I've eaten this much. A tissue appeared before me, and Julian's voice, clear yet gentle, reached my ears. I looked up into his eyes, which held not just amusement but also indulgence. My gaze dropped, and his bowl was completely clean. He exuded an air of nobility, clearly not from an ordinary family, just like William. Yet, he lacked William's arrogance. I remembered one time when I was terribly craving noodles and pestered William relentlessly to come here with me. He looked at the stool the server kept wiping with disdain. Resigned, I had to wipe it many more times with wet wipes before he reluctantly sat down. I ordered him the same dish as mine, but he didn't touch his bowl of noodles even after I finished mine. After leaving the diner, his face immediately darkened, and he told me never to come back here, calling the food lowly. I was so naive back then, I didn't realize he was speaking metaphorically. Although I felt instinctively uncomfortable, I still made excuses for him, thinking it was normal for someone from a wealthy family not to be accustomed to such food. It wasn't until his attitude completely changed today that I realized he not only despised the food but also despised me. This painful truth was confirmed after William called me to a private dining room. I actually wasn't going to give him the time of day, but he transferred me 200,000 and said he'd transfer another 200,000 if I went. Who could refuse that? Never mind a trap, I'd walk through fire for that kind of money. Guided by a server, I arrived at the private dining room. The door was ajar, not fully closed, and through the gap, I clearly heard their conversation. Are you really going to break up with Luna? She's so alluring, can you really let her go? William's disdainful voice drifted out. Alluring? What kind of taste do you have? She can't even compare to a single strand of Chloe's hair. Chloe's sweet voice followed immediately. Exactly. She's not even fit to carry my shoes. I genuinely don't understand why men like those sultry looks. William quickly distanced himself. I never liked her. If you hadn't told me to mess with her feelings and then dump her harshly, I wouldn't have bothered to give her a second glance. A strange voice chimed in. Exactly. How could William be interested in a gold digger like that? God knows how many people she's been with. She might even have an STD. The disgusting words made everyone in the private dining room burst into laughter, William's voice mingling among them. After laughing for a long time, someone suddenly said, Hey, William, if you're tired of her, let me have a turn. I don't care if she has an STD. TSK, you really have strange tastes. This time, I didn't hear William's voice for a long time. No way, William, you didn't actually develop real feelings, did you? His silence made everyone speculate. Now spoke, his voice inexplicably sharp. How could I? How could I possibly fall for such a shameless, greedy, common woman? It turned out that people don't suddenly become rotten, they've always been rotten, I just hadn't noticed. I didn't listen any further. I pushed the door open and stepped inside. In the spacious private dining room, a group of rich kids were gathered, surrounded by a haze of smoke. Chloe was there too. Hearing the commotion, the laughter ceased, and their gazes converged on me, full of meaning. I ignored them, walking straight up to William and demanding he fulfill his promise. Transfer the money. Seeing me, William's eyes flashed with panic. He instinctively pushed Chloe out of his arms and fumbled for his phone, about to transfer the money to me. This absolutely infuriated Chloe. Her face contorted as she glared fiercely at William. Yet, William, who usually sensed her emotions instantly, seemed completely oblivious this time. His slender fingers tapped on the keypad, creating a pleasant sound. I stared intently, eager for the transaction to complete. Just as William was about to enter the final digit of the password, a pair of bony hands suddenly gripped his. William, why are you transferring her so much money? You're already letting her see how the other half lives for free. That's cutting off someone's financial lifeline is like killing their parents. Could I stand for that? I raised my hand and slapped her, knocking her mouth askew. What's it to you? Go mind your own business. Chloe whimpered, crying as she shook William's arm. William, look at her. William's eyes darkened, and he seemed about to lose his temper again, so I immediately gave him a disciplinary slap. You're too stingy to part with 200,000? Are you that broke? Transfer it now. William, who prided himself on being from an illustrious family, could not tolerate such contemptuous words. Ignoring objections, he lowered his head and furiously tapped away, transferring me 400,000. My eyes lit up. I couldn't resist hugging my phone and giving it a kiss. Well, what a good boy. I'm the one who transferred the money, not the phone. William gritted through clenched teeth. I glanced at him, then shook my head in rejection under his faintly hopeful gaze. Too ugly. No thanks. Perhaps my rejection wounded his pride, as his face instantly clouded over. You used to say I was the most handsome man in the world. I made a disgusted face. That was then, this is now. Making money isn't shameful. If you weren't paying so much, I really couldn't bring myself to do it. Those words were a full-force attack. Everyone present collectively gasped. Sure enough, the next second, William, enraged, grabbed my neck. Say that again? I punched him in the eye, and he released me with a yelp of pain. I'll say it 1,000,000 times if I have to. Do you really think I like you? Hilarious. I like money. I refused to admit I had ever liked this trash. It felt like having a criminal record. He was the one who broke up with me, and he was the one who deliberately humiliated me. Yet now he looked like he couldn't accept it. Who was he putting on a show for? What a pathetic, stupid jerk. Every time I thought about what William had done, I wished I could tear him to shreds. Humph, if you don't like me, you don't like me. Who cares? William covered his eye, pulling Chloe into his arms with his free hand. You're nothing but a gold digger. If it weren't for Chloe, I wouldn't even look at a cheap woman like you if you threw yourself at me. Chloe leaned against his chest as if she had no bones. Exactly. If I hadn't decided to have a little fun, why would William ever pursue someone as mercenary as you? She looked at me with a playful smile, seemingly eager for my reaction. Unfortunately, I disappointed her. Not only did I not show any sadness, I even laughed out loud. Thanks for the gift. I had a great time playing with your dog for a while, getting both pleasure and money. I was just getting bored and wanted a change, so it's incredibly thoughtful of you to take him back. Chloe and William's faces simultaneously twisted, looking as dreadful as if their parents had died. Chloe seemed to be speechless with rage, just glaring at me, her face contorted savagely. William, meanwhile, had a grim expression. He pinched my chin and demanded, bored? Arg, touched by something filthy, I stomped my high heel down on his foot with furious indignation. William clutched his foot, veins throbbing on his forehead. I had the money, so I couldn't be bothered to deal with them anymore. I turned and walked away. Who knew Chloe would suddenly lunge at me, grabbing my hair, and beckoning to the men? Who said they wanted to have some fun just now? Come quickly. Two men stood up, reaching a consensus. Together? Seeing the situation was bad, I used my old trick, stomping my high heel hard on her instep. She shrieked, lifting her foot and hopping around like a monkey. I quickly rushed to the private dining room door and picked up the meat cleaver the first had prepared earlier. With the long blade in hand, who could contend with me? The two men who came to grab me backed away repeatedly. But perhaps seeing my trembling hands, they suddenly gained confidence. They provocatively pointed at themselves. Come on. Chop me. I'm easily provoked. If you put it like that, then I just might chop you? The man stuck out his neck. Come on, chop right here. My grip on the knife tightened. I aimed for his neck and chopped down with all my might. The sound of the blade slicing through the air exploded in my ears. The man, not expecting me to actually go through with it, instantly crumpled to the floor, narrowly dodging my strike. I suddenly smelled a foul odor. Looking closer, I realized the man had been so scared he'd lost control of his bladder and bowels. I quickly pulled out my phone and snapped a photo of his pathetic state. Chloe seized the opportunity to try and snatch my knife. I swung the knife handle back and jabbed her. After a pig-like shriek, her nose was crooked. Oh, wow. Your fake nose is crooked. I pointed at her and burst into laughter, recording a video as I laughed. William came to snatch my phone, but I simply pulled out the knife and wielded it ferociously. Hee hee hee. Chop, chop. Chop, chop, chop. With the long blade in hand, I was unstoppable. That night was too chaotic. I only remembered attacking people with a vengeance, lost in the moment, without a care for my life. When I walked out of the private dining room, my bank account was over $1 million richer. Perhaps intimidated by my frenzied behavior the previous night, none of the group dared to show their faces around me. I heard that William and Chloe had gotten engaged, just as he wished. One day, Julian and oh no, he was my boyfriend now. We were squatting by the roadside, each munching on a caramel apple. Suddenly, a pair of gleaming leather shoes appeared before us. I looked up. It was William. He sneered, "Where did these beggars come from?" I rolled my eyes, took Julian's soft hand, and started to walk away. His gaze swept over our clasped hands, and he looked annoyed. He stopped me and pulled out a black card. Don't you love money? I have plenty of it. Break up with him and come back with me. My eyes were fixed on the black card. Slap yourself twice and beg me on your knees, and I'll go back with you. William did it without a word. I didn't know what kind of madness possessed him, but I cheerfully took the card and left with him. Now everyone knew I had abandoned Julian to become William's kept woman. When came knocking, I was admiring my freshly done manicure with a satisfied expression. Without a word, she lunged at me. I grabbed her hair and slapped her, my sharp nail tearing her cheek, leaving it bloody and bruised. Her piercing scream drew William. Luna, what happened? His anxious demeanor stopped abruptly when he saw that Chloe was the one injured. He wrapped his arm around my waist, then coldly looked at Chloe. What are you doing here? It wasn't long before Chloe and I had switched roles. Her expression of disbelief, clutching her injured face, was particularly comical. I held out my hand to William. You made my hand hurt, you bully. William lowered his head in. Blew on my hand. She's bad. How do you want to punish her, honey? I slipped off one of my slippers and handed it to him. Hubby, will you get revenge for me, please? That single word hubby immediately hooked William. He picked up the slipper and went straight to work. Seeing his fierce demeanor, I strongly suspected he was settling a personal score. I was already curious what Chloe had done to make him so ruthless. Then again, he might just be plain crazy, he had a history, after all. I got tired of watching and yawned. I'm going to sleep. You take your time. William nodded with a smile, then walked over, intending to kiss me, but I dodged him, saying with a disgusted look, You're filthy. He thought I was disgusted by Chloe and didn't think much of it, only saying he would thoroughly clean himself later, leaving no trace of Chloe's scent. I casually nodded, eager to go upstairs. Sweetheart, I'm here. The moment I entered the room, I threw myself into Julian's arms. The reassuring scent of fresh grass filled my nostrils. I happily told him what had happened downstairs. Though handsome, Julian was quite possessive. He pulled me onto the bed and buried his face in my chest, feigning hurt. I don't want to hear you mention that person's name, sweetheart. I stroked his head. Julian, don't be so petty. He is our sugar daddy, after all. I'll endure his disgusting presence and keep up the act for a bit longer, then you'll have enough money for your surgery. His voice was muffled. But I don't want my sweetheart to sacrifice herself for me. Pfft, so what if he's dirty? I don't actually touch him, so what's the big deal? I've got him wrapped around my finger now, he's transferring millions to me every day. Dirty? Wrapped around your finger? Luna, do you even have a heart? William's hysterical voice boomed like thunder. Before I could speak, he pointed at Julian, my handsome boyfriend, and gritted his teeth. Didn't you say you broke up with him? Hi, is he in your bed? I nudged Julian to get him up, but he refused. What could I do? I could only spoil him. Remembering I still needed William's money, I feigned innocence. I was just lying in the same bed with him. We didn't do anything. William's fists were clenched so tight they looked like they would shatter. Do you take me for a fool? He said he was going to pull Julian away, but how could I let that happen? My handsome boyfriend was frail, if he got hurt, I'd be heartbroken. I scrambled up and stood in front of Julian, telling William impatiently, if that's what you want to believe, there's nothing I can do. William's face was flushed crimson with anger, but he seemed powerless against me. He tried to reach past me to grab Julian. I slapped him. Enough. Are you done making a scene? He looked at me in disbelief. You hit me for him? So what if I hit you? You don't sympathize with me at all. I pulled Julian and headed out. Money is hard to earn, and some things are just too disgusting. We're not making this money anymore. William grabbed my other hand. You're not leaving. I twisted my hand free. Crawl away. You've lost your mind. After leaving William, I was figuring out how to make money when the hospital called. Julian's surgeon had a problem with his hand, so the surgery scheduled for 3 days later had to be cancelled. I didn't understand why it was so sudden, but then learned it was due to a medical dispute. But my gut told me something was off. Could it really just be a coincidence? Julian and I went to see the injured doctor again. His hand was severely injured and he might never be able to practice medicine again, yet he still apologized to us, saying he had delayed Julian's treatment. He was a very good person, he didn't deserve such an outcome. If I found out William was involved in this, I would never let him off the hook. I never expected William to actually admit he was behind it. Luna, if you don't want to drag someone else, do. Break up with that snake right now. I thought he was crazy. Get lost, you lunatic. You didn't appreciate me when we were together, and now that I've left, you're clinging to me like a ghost. Perhaps remembering what he had once done to me, he suddenly knelt, full of remorse. Luna, I was wrong. It was only after you left that I realized you're the one I truly love. Seeing you with that snake, I'm going crazy with jealousy. Please dump him. Let's go back to how things were, just us. I didn't want to hear any of it. The thought of once cherishing him like a prince made me sick to my stomach. Shut up. We can never go back. William shook his head, clutching my legs, refusing to believe me. No, we will go back. As long as you dump him, everything will be as it was. He frantically pulled out many cards and shoved them into my hand. Sweetheart, don't you love money most of all? I have plenty. As long as you're with me, everything I have is yours. I lifted his chin thoughtfully and said, testing him, I don't believe you, unless you transfer me 100 million. William heard this, pulled out his phone without a word, and began to make the transfer. When I received the notification, I was stunned. This guy actually believed me? When did he get so easy to fool? I took the money and was about to run, but he clung to me like a water ghost. Luna, now that you've taken my money, you have to stay with me forever. I was imprisoned, my phone and all communication devices were confiscated. I couldn't reach Julian and was worried. In my heart, Julian was very fragile and needed careful protection. William saw through my distraction and, like one possessed, kept bringing up the past. He took out the photos we had taken during our travels and recounted them like treasures, precisely naming the time and place of each picture. I didn't want to revisit those memories with him, but he compulsively forced me to look and remember. I angrily slapped him, but he simply feared me the other side of his face. Luna, are you having fun hitting me? If not, keep going. I suspected he was enjoying being hit. He seemed increasingly bizarre, as if possessed, so I tried my best to avoid him. But he was relentless, always appearing wherever I went the next second. I was utterly fed up with him. My inner aggression was triggered, and when he annoyed me again, I simply gave him a savage beating. After I finished, he even dragged his bruised and battered body to give me a massage. As I drifted into a comfortable drowsiness, he suddenly probed, Luna, are you still angry? That slap back then, It would have been better if he hadn't brought it up. The moment he mentioned that slap, I remembered the humiliation, and I got up and beat him again. I was in the middle of my beating spree when Julian, my handsome boyfriend, suddenly burst into William's mansion, impeccably dressed in a suit, to pick me up. A line of tall bodyguards followed behind him, making a grand entrance. Luna, I've come to get you. I abandoned William and rushed into Julian's arms, quickly explaining, I swear I don't have violent tendencies. He forced my hand. He smiled and stroked my head. My Luna is the kindest person. He's bad, and he deserved it. His tone was indulgent, and only then did I relax enough to ask, did you strike it rich? Julian chuckled softly. My father's only legitimate heir suffered an unexpected accident. I successfully took his place, and now I'm someone with influence. I can be your pillar of support. The dark circles under his eyes made my heart ache a little. His health was already delicate, these past few days must have been incredibly tough for him. I stood on my tiptoes to kiss him. William, who had been silent, suddenly went wild. No, no, no. I forbid you to touch him. He shrieked hysterically. I knew he was having another one of his fits and didn't even spare him a glance. After leaving, Julian and I went to see the injured doctor. Again. If it hadn't been for us, he wouldn't have suffered such harm. I transferred 100 million to the doctor. Deeply moved, he called his retired mentor back to perform Julian's surgery. The surgery was a great success. Julian completely recovered his health, and without the pale complexion, his magnificent features became even more striking. Later, when Julian and I got engaged, I suddenly heard that William's father had been overthrown, and his mother quickly remarried. The former golden boy of the East elite, now a homeless nobody. William's fate was none of my concern, I didn't deliberately pay him any attention. A month later, a limping beggar appeared at my wedding. The servants quickly banded together and beat him out. He shouted my name, claiming he was William. I said nothing, watching him being ignominiously chased away from my elevated position, just as he had stood on stage, coldly observing my plight, all those months ago. This winter was exceptionally cold. I heard a beggar froze to death not far from the mansion, and everyone found it unsettling. I sat in the warm indoors, enjoying the snow scenery. How beautiful this winter is, I remarked. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section. Feel free to share your views, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. See you next time.